when Governor Haslam was elected and came into office, Bill Haggerty, our senator, was the commissioner of our department, and he put in some tools and accountability measures in the fast track program that didn't really exist before. And that has to do with these accountability agreements that we initiate with the grantee. And with those accountability agreements comes what we call clawback provisions, which is a tool that we use contractually that when companies are reporting their numbers back to the state, back to our department. We have a team that tracks all of these metrics with the company over, a period of time, years. You're talking years of collection of data, and so that's what we use in the accountability agreements that allow us to monitor and measure the company's performance based on what we all agreed to do and what our grant was based on. And that has been in place. Like I said, that part of the fast track program around the accountability agreements and the clawback provisions have been in place since 2010. And so when Governor Lee came into office, all of those accountability measures contractually continued. And we have, as a department, we have fully enforced those accountability agreements and those clawback provisions where companies, it's rare, but oftentimes you'll have companies that miss their numbers. And what I mean by that is their net new jobs. Our grants are based on net new jobs that the company creates as part of that grant program. And if they do not perform based on a measurement of that total job count, then there is, depends on where they fall into it, but we could claw back a portion of that initial grant, and it has happened where we've called and claw back all of it. There's this long lead time that to get to the point where they're actually hiring folks. And and the reason I'm telling you all that is because these are long-term uh, uh, measurements that take place. We're monitoring this over a long period of time. It's not over just a year or two. This is typically over a 4 and maybe even like a 5 or 6 year period of time. So much of what we're seeing dates back, if there is any sort of clawback, it's going back 5, 6, 7, 8 years in some
Mhm.
cases. And that's just the understanding and the way the agreements is structured.
So,
Right.
say, for example, you hear of a company getting money and then they might have a setback. People shouldn't assume that they have violated the agreement right off because these are longer term, it's a long term
Right.
picture.
That's right. That is. And that's why it's really important, I think, to go back to what I said earlier. The level of due diligence that we do on the front end of these projects is really, really important. And I come from the private sector. I've spent close to 25 years in the venture capital industry and investing and starting companies. And I just have a better sense of how companies and CEOs and boards think about strategically. And I know that there are, things aren't going to go as planned all the time. And we recognize, particularly with our fast track program, that there's companies investing hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars of company money, and we know that they're taking that seriously, and we take that seriously. So it's really important that we do all the necessary due diligence on the front end. One, to protect ourselves with the taxpayer grant dollars that we provide, but number two, we know that things are going to change and companies have to pivot, and we want to align and partner with the companies that have the best chance of survival in those hard times, whether it's market driven, customer driven, product driven, whatever. Things don't go as planned, most of the time. But you want to align with companies that can figure that out. They have the deep pockets to pivot. They can weather storms, because what we don't want is a company that doesn't have the ability to do that. And then they're saying, "Hey, we're out of resources. We can't do anything about it. And guess what? We're out of money."